Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we are finally finishing up our battle with Big Corn.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank
I
God. I'm ready
yeah,
for this one to be over.
it's funny. Tim seems to like the later ones a little better than I do, but we'll get into that shortly, and then we'll do our rankings. But yeah, no, I think this was an interesting series. It just I can't explain it. It's just I feel like what they do with the later ones is they try and be different in a way, but yet it's like then it becomes, like, not as Children of the Corny, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
and that's
No.
why like and I'm ranking these movies based on how they fit in the franchise as we tend to during this. See, some of this, like,
Yeah.
honestly, like, when we get to Runaway, I have that point, like, overall, it's not a, like Citizen Kane, but it's not as terrible as a movie as I'm probably gonna make it sound, but as a Children of the Corn movie, I wanted more, like, Children of the Corny stuff, even though it like, the again, I think they're trying to directly bring it back to the first one again, so I don't know where this is on the timeline,
Well, see,
but
that's kind of how I did mine. I went when I do these rankings. I'm trying to rank it with. I'm not trying to rank it as compared to all movies.
yeah.
Each installment. I'm not comparing it to like you said, Citizen Kane or Star Wars. I'm comparing it to other Children of the Corn movies. And I'm also looking at like in this when I went into this, it was like, okay, number one, does it feel like a Children of the Corn movie? How closely does it align to what I think a Children of the Corn movie should be? And
Yeah.
then secondly, I'm looking at like movie quality. And I'm when you sort Excel and you sort by two different columns.
Yeah,
You sort first
exactly,
by
that
this column and then by this one. That's kind of what I was trying to do. I'm fairly comfortable with my rankings. So I will say I spent some time thinking about this. So and we differed a lot, which was good
yeah,
because I
towards the end, it's funny, our first 3 are, like, locked in and that's it, but, like, after that, they vary a little, and we'll
yeah
go into that, but, I guess let's get right into since we're gonna kinda keep this episode somewhat on the short side here, I guess let's go right into the first one, the last 2, and we are gonna do a quick little bonus recap of that Disciples of the Crow,
yeah
so I guess do the first one here, Children of the Corn Genesis, and do the little
yeah.
housekeeping here.
So Genesis was released in 2011, directed by Joel Swayson. That's kind of a cool name.
Yeah, I know.
Swasson. I don't know if you want to be
Sassoon? I
French.
don't know.
Swassoon. Vidal Sassoon.
Samsonite. Remember Dumb and Dumber? Samsonite. Yeah.
Stars J.J. Benicki as young Cole, Diane Peterson as Cole's mother, Kai Castor as Boy in Dress, Helen Coleman as Allie, Tim Rock as Tim,
Yeah,
Billy.
Tim.
Yeah,
Tim, you
she
rock,
kept
Tim.
she kept saying Tim in here, and I kept turning around.
And
Billy Drago as Preacher, who is I got stories about this one. Okay, Barbara Nedeljakova as Helen/Oksana, Dwayne Whitaker as Pritchett, Dusty Burwell as Child, and Brian Height as police officer. Synopsis, and I'm not going to go through this because it released.
Brian and Tim in this movie.
Yeah,
Where was this when we needed that one, oh,
I
no, because
know.
it was the characters had to be Brian and Tim. That's what it was.
That's right. Yeah. So
This
yeah, we
case,
had
you're lucky you had a Tim, but you didn't have a Brian. You had a Brian
yeah.
actor.
So
Okay.
this one, like this couple ends up their car breaks down. Sounds familiar, and they end up staying with this weird dude and his weird wife. And for
Oh, yeah, I
most of the
messed up the
movie,
synopsis. Sorry about that. I just looked at that
yeah,
on the
I'm
rundown.
kind of going off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but so they end up having to stay at this weird couple's house until they can get their car fixed. And this one has an astonishingly lack of children and corn. It has
Yeah,
none of
like
that. It was a very strange movie, but this is the one I saw. Remember I told you I had seen one of
oh,
the more
yeah,
recent ones?
yeah.
This is it. And I knew that because when I went out and looked on Letterboxd, I had already marked it viewed. And I think I watched it for one of the horror challenges.
Uh,
I think that's where that came from. And then Mia's barking. She hated this movie so much she's actually barking at the microphone. No, I didn't. Actually, I did not hate this one, but it just did not feel like a Children of the Corn movie to me. It felt like I almost feel like it'd be better if it wasn't a Children of the Corn movie. Like it almost felt like it would be a better horror movie
I
in a
kinda feel
way.
like both of these last 2 are, like, kind of fit into that bubble. Yeah, I mean, because this one, like okay, so this one, the only thing I think that it ki to me that kind of Children of the Corn it was that it was a couple that tend to argue a lot in this,
Yes,
and I
yeah,
feel like
that
that's a weird signature, and even in the last one, it's a mother and son arguing a from time to time, and
yeah,
so
that's the through line is people arguing in these movies.
yeah, I
But
don't understand why corn does that to you. I think corn is like, I love a good stalk of corn, doesn't make me wanna, like, start fighting with people. I don't know, what's going
But
on
this
here?
one, you could tell it was low budget because they stayed in like basically in one room this entire movie
Yeah,
for a good portion of it. They're just in this couple's house. And I will say the only saving grace to this was Billy Drago as preacher
yeah.
is so creepy and he's so good that it almost elevated like I was almost riveted to the screen where I think if it was a lesser actor doing a lesser character, I would have been really bored with it. But for some reason, like he was fairly captivating and I think he helped save a lot of this movie because otherwise it would have
Yeah,
been really dull.
he definitely made it watchable, like, the lead guy seemed like had a weird energy about him the whole time, like, he was giving me anxiety because of, like, his, like, weird calmness to things that at this point, should have been elevated a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
He
his
was
wife called him
definitely
out on it too, which is kind of funny, so it's like she called him out on it, she goes, "Are you serious right now?" Or something like that when he was like, "No, no, no, I'll do that," like and he just does stupid things, like, with the camera. He takes the camera off at the tripod in f literally 3 seconds flat, but it takes him, like, 35, 45 minutes to put it back on as the guy's approaching. I'm like, "Come on, please.
yeah, it was
It's
driving me
not that
crazy.
hard."
Like, how nonchalant he was about certain things, like,
Yeah,
I mean, the wife basically strips in front of him, and
yeah.
he's still kinda acting like this whole situation's not that weird, and I'm like, "Dude, I would've been out of there so fast." I
I
don't
wouldn't have
care if we didn't have a
stayed. I
car.
don't care. I
I
would have stayed in the like, I would have walked down to wherever, like, and slept in my truck, honestly.
I
I would
slept
have
in the
not
yeah, I would've slept in the car, like, I would've been like, "Thank you, thanks for letting me use your phone, we'll see you later, we're gonna figure it out on our own." Like, why would you
yeah, I
stay
mean,
with these people?
the guy lies about his not having a phone, and they call him out on it, and they know he's got a phone right off the bat, so it's like, okay, he's lying to you, he doesn't want you here. Why would you wanna, like, force yourself upon this weird dude and his mail order bride, I'm like, I mean, this just doesn't make sense. First of all, where in, like, Cornland, did he find I don't think he had a computer, so how did he get this mail order bride, which they
It was
comment on
so
twice
weird.
that she's a mail order bride. The whole I the the internet access just in this whole franchise
It's
astounds
really
me.
bad,
Like,
yeah, it's really bad.
it's just implied that they have it in moments where I know they don't,
Yeah.
unless this corn has, like, some kind of, like, router in it. And that's, like, the one place they haven't gone yet. They haven't got the big tech corn yet, which
No.
is gonna come next, I'm sure. If they make another one of these movies, it's not a remake, it's
You know
gonna
what
be
this
that.
felt like? This felt like one of those Hellraiser movies that was never a Hellraiser movie until they forced it. This
Yeah,
this actually feels like it was a different horror movie, and then they said, "Oh, well, we'll just make it a Children of the Corn movie, so we'll
yeah. Well,
slap in
remember
this cult stuff in the end of."
I remember what you said, like, they had that like, I think it's past that point, right, where they had to do him every 2 years to keep the rights,
Yeah.
but I feel like the guy's alarm, just, like, snoozed it for 8 years or whatever by mistake instead of deleting it, so it popped up and he panicked. He's like, "Oh my god, wait, we need to release a Children of the Corn movie." Where is it? Where is it? Grab one." He goes, "Well, we
Yeah.
have this movie about a
We got
couple
this
that gets lost."
yeah.
Sold.
So
You know?
done. Billy yeah, can we pass for a farmhouse? I mean, can we get some stock corn footage? We could throw it in there. I mean, yeah, it was I don't know. I didn't like this one. I've got it. I'm not gonna go through my rankings yet. I'm gonna be quiet. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, the only reason I had this one higher than the Rock Bottom because this is the least Children of the Corny movie of the entire franchise, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The only reason, and that should have qualified it for the very bottom, but the only reason I didn't is because the performances are really good. I thought everybody did a good job. Like the cast is good, and I think it could have been a well-made movie if it wasn't tied into this IP.
Yeah,
So
because Yeah, because I feel like the whole movie you're waiting for the corn part, and it doesn't never come, so it almost kinda distracts you from the movie that, uh, essentially, at face value is not terrible.
No, it feels like a Shutter. It feels like one of those low budget Shutter movies that you would get that they filmed maybe during the pandemic. I know this was filmed far way before the pandemic, but it just feels that way.
Yeah.
Feels like one of those horror movies they filmed during the pandemic where they only needed 3 actors in one room, and so they made a whole movie around it, and it ends up being not so bad. But you could tell it was constrained by the budget, but it still kind of comes off pretty cool because there's really good performances and it's got a decent script and there's tension and there's anxiety. It kind of had that feel to it, but like you said, you're waiting for the children of the corn part the entire movie, and I think it distracts from everything else. Like if I just going into this, I didn't know what the evil was or what the mystery was, I would have been more invested in it. But I
Yeah.
already knew this is a Children of the Corn movie, so obviously he who walks behind the rose is the thing that they're coming up against. So I don't know. It's weird to say that a movie in this franchise was made worse by being part of the franchise, but that's
Yeah,
kind of what I'm saying.
but you're right. I'd love to do some more research on this and see if I didn't really look through the trivia completely, but I'd like to look in to see if there's any reference of that, like the Hellraiser effect in there, where
Yeah,
they just like needed they
adapted
wanted
it.
to slap Children of the Corn on it, so they added a couple of lines and one creepy kid at some point, and then they called it a day. But I don't know. That doesn't. By this point, that doesn't make you gotta get different with these. You gotta I don't know what they need, but, like, I mean, they probably need to stop making them at this point,
Yeah, yeah,
but at the same time, if you're going to still make them, at least, like, really, like, try and capture what the elements that people liked about the first one and what people like about the story. Just don't try and you can change it. You wanna and be a little different, be a little bold, but you gotta like, we discussed this about another franchise too that did this, but you have to almost make sure that what the love people have for the franchise is represented well enough, and then you could change it all you want. This one didn't do that. It didn't have anything that if someone would have watched this, like, when didn't give a title, someone probably would have said, "Oh, wait, they stole that from Children of the Corn, that one line," and
yeah.
that's
That's
it.
all they would have. Yeah, that's it. And what
But
I don't
yeah.
what was this like a super prequel? Like, I know it's called Genesis. Was this like supposed to be the start of the very first start of the cult? I couldn't tell where in the timeline this thing set.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
because if
It
it was like a super prequel, like this was the very, very beginning before any of the kids had even started killing anybody, and like this was like the first kid, maybe I could see I think I could appreciate it a little bit more, but I don't. For some reason I couldn't pick up on it in the movie itself, whether it was where it
I'm
tied
trying
into
to
the lore.
yeah, I'm trying to find and see it, and I just captured the thing under the reviews on IMDb. Someone wrote some
Oh,
children
Brian,
and some
look at the
corn.
trivia here. Look at the trivia. This film was rushed into production by Dimension Films because the studio was about to lose the rights to the Children of the Corn series. You were
There
right.
you
The
go.
guy's alarm went off and he went, "Holy crap, we haven't made one of these in 10 years." Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. Actually,
that's pretty
they had made the
funny.
remake in 2009, but
Um,
that was a different
wait,
production company.
did you see the last trivia piece? It says, despite the film's title, this has no connection with Phil Collins. You needed to put that there? Come on. I'm sorry if
It
you're
would have been
looking at
better if
this,
it had.
it would have, but like if you would have looked at this, okay, and even had some kind of connection to Phil Collins in this other than the obviously okay, he played for Genesis and you thought like, "Oh, maybe he's connected some way," then you need to
It
see a
would have been a
team of
much
people.
better movie. I
Yeah,
would have
but
loved
it's
it.
funny, then that guy would have been if that were the case, that guy director would have been Joel Sudio. Sorry, that's terrible. But, yeah, okay.
I would have
But
loved
yeah,
to see Billy
let's
Drago just break in the air tonight when he goes out to the
yeah.
barn.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
my god.
when he falls, they could have done the thing. Yeah, like
No,
they would do the Tommy Tuberville fall.
yeah.
Let's move on quickly, I guess, to so because I want to make sure we get our rankings in without rushing. So the next one is Children of the Corn Runaway, which we definitely had drastic differences. I watched it twice even because I wanted to make sure that maybe I wasn't so tired when I watched it. But let's go through the housekeeping and then we'll get
Yeah,
into this one.
this one came out 7 years later. I'm like, how often do they have to make these movies that they can go 7 years? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But 2018 from John Gulager, starring Marcy Miller as Ruth slash teenage Ruth, Jake Ryan Scott as Aaron, Sarah Moore as Pretty Girl, Mary Catherine Bryan as Sarah, Lynn Andrews III as Carl, Kevin Harvey as Raleigh, Diane Ayala Goldner as Mrs. Dawkins, and Eric Starkey as Officer Dave. The plot of Children of the Corn Runaway follows a young pregnant Ruth who escapes a murderous child cult in a small Midwestern town. She spends the next decade living anonymously in an attempt to spare her son the horrors that she experienced as a child. She lands in the small Oklahoma town, but something is following her. Now she must confront this evil or lose her child. Now, I will say, when this one started, I didn't like it. To me, it was boring, and I didn't really get the connection. But I don't know, as it went on, like I kept liking it more and more, and I really liked the ending. And I don't know why I liked this one as much as I did. Now, I still ranked it really low.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's in the bottom third, but I don't know, maybe it's because I just gotten off of that last one that had like no connection whatsoever. This one felt like it did have a connection to the franchise, and I thought some of the effects stuff was kind of cool. Like they had like there's a scene where they're kind of replicating the diner scene from the first
Yeah.
movie, and they have like, but they're like freeze it so you could like see the blood like splashing out Matrix style, and it's like
I know, I thought, like,
suspended in the
Kylo
air.
Ren was there and he, like, froze it, like, the
Yeah,
laser blast in Force
there's like
Awakens. That's what it kinda
frozen
reminded me of.
blood streams coming out of people's necks. So I thought it was kind of cool. There was another effect they did where they would reverse, like they would show somebody dead and then they'd like reverse their death. So like all the blood
Yeah.
would go back into their body and stuff. That was kind of neat. I think they overused it a little bit, but it was kind of neat at the time. So I don't know. This one had some quirks that I kind of liked, and I liked the main character. I thought she was pretty good, and I don't know. I kind of like the twist of the ending of what ends up happening. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, granted, so I did yeah, I mean, I'm probably being a little hard on it, but also because I think I think to me, it was just corn fatigue by this point, it's like,
yeah,
it's like this one should have like, if this one came earlier in the franchise, like, this could have been a direct sequel technically to the first one or the second one. It's like one of these ones where it's like it's funny how there are a lot of parallels to Halloween in some ways with this, how they're like you can make your own little timelines out of these depending on what you wanna watch first, but they don't actually reference any timeline, so they just kinda keep splitting stories. But it's kinda weird how, like I mean, here's a spoiler, so if you have not seen this yet, pause and go watch it or don't watch it or whatever if you don't care, but pause and if you don't want spoilers, but so it turns out, that, she, right early on that she's a survivor, but then there's this twist where she's also like this little girl you see is like really her vision of herself doing it, and she's actually the killer, but also on top of it, there's another survivor in there, which is who like was a character you really like also, and then she turns out to be kind of sinister but but I'm like, "So how many people actually did survive it?" And, like, it feels like, did anyone die in this fire that they claim killed all the kids off? It's like also, and, like, how many these kids are, like, obviously, getting down pretty, like, at a young age here because there always seems to be these kids of the kids
yeah,
floating
yeah,
around, and I so I but, it's like and I like the main kid. It's funny, it kinda reminded me of, like, this corn's life, like this boy's life, remember,
yeah,
like how like
yeah,
it's the mother and the son, they're trying to like on the road, they're always on the run from different things, like, obviously much different ending and no Robert De Niro, but it's like it was a had like, and I know this sounds weird, but it has almost too much like a dramatic element in it for a Children of the Corn movie to me. I don't know why, and it doesn't like, so as a Children of the Corn movie, even though it was directed, I don't know, I expected more like I don't know actually. This one's a weird one for me. I mean, this one I could also see it growing on me. Like, I know I ranked it really low, like second to last, but I don't know. I just there was a lot of like weird things in it that kinda bothered me to it and little bits, and I don't know what they are yet, if that makes sense. It's just like, I don't
Yeah,
know. I
I
c
don't know, this and again, it might be one of it's like maybe just the coming off the last one, the like, I watched these literally back to back, like, literally back to back. As soon as I finished Genesis, I went right into this one, and maybe because that one was so far removed from the franchise, that this one had so many ties to the franchise that I liked it more. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
And by the way, this was trivia. This was shot in Oklahoma, sharing a filming location with Hellraiser Judgment. So,
Oh
there's your
my god,
Hellraiser
the
connection.
connections with these 2
Yeah. So,
franchises too. What's going on there? But
but,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
don't
I mean,
know.
I did oh, yeah, we didn't do the, oh, no, we did do the, that's right, we did do the housekeeping. Yeah, I mean, I think, like, I mean, there's definitely some cool sequences in this. Like, I like I like the waitress as she was kinda, like, the character, she was doing, like, some, like, sinister things to, like, revenge against this, like, town she hated, which is if you look now on the second time I watched, I said, "Oh, that's kinda foreshadowing." She's, like, literally linking to the son this whole time and, like and kinda giving these looks towards the mother like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna protect your son, don't worry." And I'm like, I didn't catch it the first time I watched it, so in the second time, I caught that more, and I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute," she's kinda, like, really anti everyone in that town, but she loves this son, and she even has a line or something like, "Oh, you're my favorite kinda customer, out of towner." So it's like, she has all the characteristics right there in front of you that she's could be one of these, like, corn kids, it's like
That's kinda why I liked it, like, it had a lot of ties into the lore, and it was kinda neat like, it had some little twists and turns and stuff in it that I thought the other movies just haven't bothered with, which
yeah,
I thought
I
was
like I
kinda
said,
cool.
I could see this growing on me later on. But also and by the way, if you wanna watch this, unfortunately, by the time you hear this, it's leaving Tubi. Tubi it's its last day tomorrow, so we did this franchise just in time. Um, but, it's like, I don't know. I think it might be honestly, it's corn fatigue probably at this point. I was just wanting to get it over with, and I probably I may not have given this, like, its credibility, like because it wasn't as a movie as a whole, it wasn't bad, and it like you said too, it did connect a lot, way more than some of the others did, but I don't know, I think maybe I just, like,
I mean, after
I
11 movies, it wears
it's
on you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's weary, you get weary from everything, and I think, all the performances were good, there was not, like, a bad performance in this. Actually,
No.
out of all the I will say out of all the movies, this may have had, like, some of the best full cast performances in it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
So
it felt and it didn't feel like super low budget, like, it felt like compared to a lot of these, it felt pretty decently, budgeted and cast, so I don't know. I tended to like it a little bit more. Again, like I said, still ranked it low. It's still towards the bottom, but we'll go through that when we go through our rankings. I'm really excited to hear what you hear about our next one, which
yeah.
was Disciples of the Crow. This was a short, about 18 minutes long, that came out in 1983, directed by John Woodward. This was the first adaptation of the Stephen King story before the original movie came out. It stars Elsie Lester as Vicky, Gabriel Fultz as Bert, Stephen Young as younger Billy, Martin Boozer as preacher, and Kathleen Alice Brooke as mother. A couple passing through a small Oklahoma town discover that it has been taken over by a homicidal cult that worships a crow god, and that all the cult members are children. How creepy was this movie? Like
Yeah.
this one has that very creepy vibe to it because it was filmed in 1983, and it just has this weird low budget grittiness that makes movies scarier for some
Yeah,
reason.
and it's weird too. So, like, this movie is kinda like and this is gonna sound really weird to say, but, like, so it had this really student filmy kinda feel to it,
Yeah, yeah, it
right?
does.
Which is not a bad thing. I'm just saying that's kinda what it did, but it shows that you could literally tell the story in 18 minutes and have it still be effective. Then draw out, like, an hour and a half, and fill it with silliness. Like, they got right to like, this was like this moved as a clip, it's like you boom, 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 and it's yes, I mean, did it have flashy effects? No. Did they like, I mean, like, there was, stabbing that looked like a stab right to the head, and there was no blood on but you can forgive that because it was like, it got to the heart of the story, creepy kids, creepy, couple, like, a little bickering couple, and they got they're stuck in this town, and and they stumble upon this cult of kids, and it was like it's a very short story. I mean, it wasn't a short story to begin with from
Yeah, it was a
Stephen King.
short story. It was not a
Yeah,
novel. It was a
yeah.
short
So I
story.
mean, they got all they got all the points needed. They hit all the points you needed to do in 18 minutes when some of these movies were an hour and a half and couldn't hit one right. So it is really impressive, and actually probably could be. Honestly, if we had to rank it in there in terms of based, for based off like the basic plot of a Children of Corn movie, it'd probably be like right up there in the top. But since we're
Yeah,
not really
I would.
counting it, but as a ranking, but yeah, it's really good. I recommend that. Like, I would definitely watch this over than I would some of the other
Yeah, and it's
Midland.
on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube
Yeah,
for free. I would
there's
definitely
actually
have
a
put it.
4K version on YouTube. Someone did. I don't know how they did that
Wow.
because they like must have upscaled it to no
Yeah.
end. But
Yeah, I would have definitely put it in my, I mean, at least top 5, if not
yeah,
top
oh
3
yeah,
possibly. So,
yeah,
yeah, if I was gonna have to rank it. But yeah, go check that one out on YouTube. It's called Disciples of the Crow. And it is you just don't see horror shorts from that time period very often, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. And to be so well done at the time. I honestly thought it was a fan film when I first heard about it, because people kept putting it in their rankings, and I was like, "Oh, Disciples of the Crow, it must be like a fan film somebody made." Which I tell you, this would be a franchise that would be ripe for a fan film. Like, I think you
yeah.
could do a really good one. I think there's fans out there that would know what makes the franchise compelling and would be able to put that to film, where a lot of these official releases did not. So I would love to see somebody do a fan film of this. Um, so we got to get to these rankings, because this was going to be our hardest ranking of the summer Slaycation because of the just sheer amount of movies, 11 different films, including remakes and whatever. So I thought, Brian, that the best way to go through these is actually from top down, because
Yeah, I agree,
ours
yeah.
is so similar through the first few that I think we're just going to have a lot of agreement, and I think that's where we need to start. So, number one, no surprise, we're going Children of the Corn 1984 as our best of the lot. I know sometimes, Brian, I don't agree with your philosophy on the original has to lose its place, but in this case, I think it absolutely works for this franchise. I just, with Isaac and Malachi, they're by far the creepiest characters in the entire franchise. They anchor that movie. It's not perfect, but I think it encapsulates everything about this franchise that is cool, and that's why it had to be the original.
Yeah, and also I think that my philosophy works like really works better with like these kind of franchises when there's so many sequels.
Yeah.
I think when you're past like 4 or 5 sequels, I mean, at that point, that's where that philosophy really comes in. It's hard if there's just like a trilogy or something. You're like,
Oh yeah.
well,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. You can kind of see because trilogies, especially that like are usually encompassing one story for all three like that. So it's like, you could understand why sometimes maybe the first one isn't as good because if the plan all the time was to do 3 movies, the first one usually has a tremendous amount of setup, and it's one big story, so it's harder to do that. But this was not we knew this was not the case. We knew this was gonna be like at some point it was just gonna be sequels of with corn involved, so
Yeah. The second one we had was no surprise. I think because it's just such a fun movie, and it's just so ridiculous. It's so over the top. It does everything a sequel should do in terms of just going balls to the wall crazy. And that is Children of the Corn 3 Urban Harvest. By
yeah.
far the gem of this was the undiscovered gem of the entire watch for me. Like, I had never seen this movie, and I'm so disappointed I had not seen it before, because this one was just a blast to watch. I loved
And
it.
we own it now, at least,
Yeah,
though.
we own it
We
now.
own
That's
this
right.
one. This is in our little, like, our six-pack that we bought at that time. So
Yeah,
that's good.
so yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad we
agree.
agreed on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one was just that one, like, captured the just enough, like, like, cool stuff from the first one, but added, like, some really wacko stuff that made it great, and it introduced us to Big Corn, so that kinda in itself that's when we started with the Big Corn joke, so that
Yeah.
kinda started at some level, that's, like that's why it almost should be number 2 because it can't be quite number 1, but yet
No.
since it introduced a joke into our lexicon that we use the rest of the series, yeah, it belongs in its own, like the next thing you can get to number 1, which is number 2.
Yeah.
Even
Uh,
1.5, we'll say.
yeah, number 3, we had Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice. This is a solid sequel.
Yeah.
Sort of like it's like to me, it's like Jaws 2. It's not as good as the original, but it's solid. It's
Yeah,
watchable.
yeah.
It's fun, and when you look back on it with all the other sequels, it's one of the best. So I had to go with that one. It's a direct sequel, which is also nice.
Yes.
Timeline wise, I just thought it was, I thought it was just solid. I can't say it was spectacular, but it was definitely solid. Then we start to diverge
Yeah.
drastically. So, and this is where I think my philosophy of it tying to the short story, or at least tying to the feel of the franchise, weighed more for me than maybe it did for you, Brian. But for number
'Cause I never
4,
read the short story, so you have that
yeah,
advantage.
I went with the Children of the Corn 2009 remake as my number 4. This was tough for me because I didn't particularly care for the movie to rank it this high because I thought the characters were so annoying, the performances were so bad. But for me, it was so tightly tied in with the original story that I felt like I couldn't put it really low. It's possible this one could drop a spot or two, and it wouldn't change things too much. But I don't know. I just went with it because to me it felt like the most Children of the Corny of the movies that we had left.
But I think yeah, for me, I went with, 666 Isaac Returns because it's kinda like I would say it almost could make its own little, like, quadrilogy there, like, with the first other 3, and it kinda makes it like
Yeah,
you could watch those 4 and get a nice kind of, like, bookend and a
over.
complete story
Yeah, and I
without having
can't.
to watch everything else. So I kinda that's why I kinda have it there, I think, and that's why I was remember I said it might move, but then I was really thinking, I said, "You know what? No, I kinda like that these 4 kind of make up their own little mini like completion, like this whole like little tale that wraps and ends nicely, like it's wrapped up a little
Yeah,
bit.
I
So
like that. I like that. Like, no,
so
I
that's
don't
kind of
disagree with that.
yeah, so that's kinda why I put it there, but I see, that's what I like about, like, our the when we have these rankings because and they do differ because usually they make sense for us, like, you read the book, you read the short story, I never read the short story, so you're really, like, you have, like, a different connection to it. I'm basically going by the movie, so it's kind of interesting to see our rankings where I'm going from a pure cinematic aspect and you're going for
Yeah.
cinematic plus the original text.
Yeah, and
So,
I don't disagree with that because I do like the fact that 666 does belong in that quadrilogy. It really does. Like those
yeah,
4, if I told somebody, what are my essential watches for Children of the Corn, I would say exactly those 4. That's the ones you need to watch. Those that would
yeah,
be a full. That's like the cliff notes for the series. If you can watch those
yeah.
4, I think you're getting all you need to know from the series. I can't argue with that at all. I think that's a great point. Number 5, I had Children of the Corn 2020, and this one, oh man, this one was tough for me too because again, it's another movie I didn't particularly like, and I feel is ranked higher than it should be. But the reason I put it was because I felt like, in terms of the classic story of evil children, small town, killing adults, if that's our premise, if that's our baseline for what a Children of the
Yeah,
Corn movie is, I thought it did that. Maybe not in the exact way I would like it to have, but at least it went back to that story. Whereas all the other films on this list, with maybe the minor exception of 6, differed so far from that I couldn't lump them in this high in the list.
yeah,
So that's why
and
they
and
were below.
and Big Corn was, like, a part of it too, so it's
Yes,
like
and Big Corn was part of it. So
yeah, but there's a little Big Corn in there, so that's good. Yeah, for mine, I know this is the one where you, like, just despise
oh
this
man,
movie, and I don't know why it has such a soft spot for me. I think how sometimes you'll just watch a movie and you can't explain why you like it, and it could be a
yeah,
time frame, it could be a thing. Like, one of my perfect examples, right, is, like, our friend, Dan, the T-shirt guy, right? been on how many over 800 coasters, something like
Yeah.
insane amount like that, and he's been on arguably, you could say the best roller coasters, like, in the all over, and he's hit some amazing elements and crazy thing. Yet I know he always says one of his favorite coasters is Mako, which is that, like, flying coaster at SeaWorld, and he's like, so no, sorry, Manta, I think it is.
Manta, yeah.
Manta, sorry, Mako's the other one. Oh, good, I caught that. I would have, like, kicked out of the coaster community with that one. But Manta, and he said, and I remember I asked him once. He said, he goes, I like it. There's just something about it I love, and the same reason why I have that thing in coasters, and I have it with these movies. I don't know why. I think I just had a great experience when I stumbled upon this the first time.
We're talking about
And it's
Revelation, by the way.
Revelation, yeah,
Yes.
sorry, Children of the Corn Revelation, and it stuck with me even though it has, like, I mean, this one, if you think about it, is, like, has some of the most corn. The corn literally it's, like, being eaten, it's being surrounded by the thing.
It's
It, like,
CGI, it's everything.
yeah, it's got even got a wheelchair kill, it's got, like, it's just got, I don't know why, just something about it I like. And it's got armbrister, remember? It's got, like, yeah, it's just something about it. I can't explain why I like that one as much as I do. I don't know. I think I just like the cast and some of the stuff and how it's kind of modern but not modern at the same time. And yeah, I don't know. It's just always going to be. That's why I kind of like where it is, kind of in the middle. Like, it's not,
Yeah.
definitely doesn't belong at the top echelon of them. I have to be honest, just because I love it. Even if I love it, I can't. I gotta be objective and put it where it belongs. So that's why I think it's there. I mean, could it possibly flip-flop with my next one? Yes, possibly. If I rewatch them again, maybe I'll get something, but right now, and
Yeah.
that's where we both tie again with this one. We come back.
Yeah. Number 6, we tied with Children of the Corn 4: The Gathering. This one sits squarely in the middle for me because I think I liked the premise of it. I think the premise was very different, but it was actually kind of cool when I look back on it. And it's got Naomi Watts in it, and she, like,
Yeah, yeah.
really helps solidify this one in dead middle and versus towards the bottom. But I think her performance is just, good enough that it elevates this one. So yeah, it just kind of sits in the middle because it's not as good as the other ones, and it's not as bad as the bottom one. So that's where it's gonna sit. Number 7 is where I put Children of the Corn 666 Isaac's Return. Again, I feel this one might be a little low, but I just didn't like the movie. I didn't think the movie was very good, even though from a lore perspective, it probably deserves to be higher in the list. So that's why I've got it at number 7, whereas Brian had it higher.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna do these next two together, my 7 and 8, because I feel like they kind of blend into each other. So
okay,
7, I have the remake of 2009, and then 8, I have 2020. I think kind of the same reasons as you is why I ranked it. I just put it lower just because of, like, I don't know. I think I was annoyed at this over the top bickering in 2009 one, so it dropped a little. But I
yeah,
definitely like the overall story of that one better than the version that they did in 2020, which kinda, like, you know what? It felt 2020, like, that one. It kinda was like, it's just
it
some of the
did,
lines and
it
the
did,
way
yeah,
characters, so I felt like, I'm like, "You know what? This dated itself." Out of the 2, they could, they're both remakes that are not as good as the original. That's why I kinda put 2009 just ahead of 2020s at
yeah.
7
Those
and 8
almost
there.
belong together, I think.
Yeah, they
My
almost have to be.
My number 8 was Runaway. I like this one a lot more than Brian did. It's again, it's not great. The only reason I had it honestly under Isaac's Return because I actually liked Runaway better than Isaac's Return as a movie. But I felt like I couldn't put it above the original Isaac being in a Children of the Corn movie. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't make that leap. So Isaac gets the benefit of the doubt. He goes above and Runaway comes in just underneath it. Now number
You
9, we
said
both
Isaac
agreed.
got the benefit of the doubt, like it's like he got the benefit of the
Yeah, he
doubt.
did. The character got the benefit of the doubt. Number 9, we both agreed on. That was Children of the Corn Genesis,
Oh, yeah,
uh,
look at that. I didn't realize that matched up there too.
which surprisingly, for being the least Children of the Corny of all the movies that we ranked it somehow ninth out of 11, is pretty amazing. But I think it's because we thought there was a good movie in there somewhere. It just
Yeah.
didn't belong in this franchise.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I can't quite put, Like, yeah, we may never be able to truly explain why it's there in that spot, but yeah, I think there was something cool about it that like it didn't like hate, like other than our like complaints about it, I didn't find it like so horrible, you know.
Yeah. Number 10, I went with Children of the Corn 5 Fields of Terror because the acting was atrocious, the plot was all over the place. It should have been a better movie. It really should have been. It had the potential to be just a straight up fun slasher, and they just abandoned that, and I don't know why. And it's frustrating. And you'll see this one on the bottom of a lot of these lists. I didn't put it at the very bottom because I actually enjoyed aspects of it more than my final movie, but that's where I went with that one.
Yeah, and then I mean, I'm not going to go into more of it, but because I kind of explained it tonight in earlier episode, but then my 10th is Runaway for the reasons. But again, I could see that possibly moving up at some point. I don't know. I don't know if part of me wants to just watch it again, although it's leaving Tubi, so I don't know when I'll get to watch it again. But
You
I
don't-
may watch it again if it pops back on, like maybe a couple months down the road to see if now when I'm out of the big corn web or stalk or field, whatever you want to say. I'm out of
you're
there.
lost in the corn maze right
Yeah,
now.
once I'm out of the corn maze, it'll feel better. Maybe it'll feel better to watch it. So I'll give it another chance. But
All right. Well, drum roll. My worst Children of the Corn movie for me was Children of the Corn Revelation. I just didn't like it. I thought it was boring. I thought it was dark, like super dark. Not dark in like a dark story way. I'm just like the film felt dark, and I did like the creepy kids. It does have creepy kids. I will give it that. And I didn't really mind the main character, but I don't know, something about this one just fell flat for me, and it went to the very bottom. Does it deserve
yeah,
to be at the very bottom? I don't know. Maybe Fields of Terror probably deserves that ranking, but
yeah, I
that's
could
where I
see you
went.
flip flopping later on. Like you'll just
I
have an
could flip
epiphany.
those. I
But
could
I'm not
definitely flip
gonna.
those.
I don't want you to have to. Just like if
Yeah.
unless you organically come to that conclusion. Yeah, and my last one is obviously if you haven't figured it out yet, mine is Fields of Terror just because of all the reasons we said. Like it was just bad, like effects in it, and it was like the story didn't capture me. The characters were. I mean, and I like Eva Mendes, and she even if she's saying she didn't like her own self in it, who am I to argue? So,
I
and
mean,
I
the
didn't even
Kane
think
Hodder
she was the
cameo.
worst one, and she wasn't
Yeah.
even the worst one. Yeah. Oh
No.
yeah, Kane
Yeah.
Hodder, right?
The
Yeah.
Kane Hodder cameo is like the best part of that entire movie. And he's in
And
it
that
for
one
like
had
30 seconds.
right, that was the one with David Carradine too, and it still
Yeah.
was, like,
Yeah. And it
off. I
still was
don't
bad.
yeah,
So
that one's a weird one that it was as, like, unfulfilling as it was because
and I will say there's several, if you go out on the web, there's like several Children of the Corn rankings, and they're all different. But most
yeah.
people, I think, generally agree that 5 is really bad. Most people generally agree that the first 3 are the best, and then everything else kind of falls in all different kinds of orders between those. So I don't think Brian and I are really that far off the consensus. It's just those middle ones is where the rankings sometimes shift around a little bit. But I would be interested to hear if you guys have dared tackle this entire franchise, what your thoughts are on the rankings of these, because it's an interesting franchise because there's really un, no real through line except for maybe Big Corn, but even that's not even a through line
Yeah,
through most of these.
that's us saying that. We
But you think
made that
about it
up.
from a horror movie perspective, what other franchise have you seen where there's really no central connecting tissue through a lot of these? I mean, I guess you could say Killer Kids or Killer Kids in a Cult, but even some of these they don't
Yeah.
even show up. So it's like
Yeah.
where's your connecting thread through all of these? It's very odd franchise in that respect because it just doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, I think if like I said, like if you go through the first 4, let's just say, go 1, 2, 3, 4 that way, and you're getting a continuing story at that point. Now, it'd be interesting if you would have went like, I mean, I guess we maybe like prequel would have been the way to go, and we think Genesis may be that. Maybe at this point you go back to get earlier version of it or something like, or maybe even like way, way back to wherever this he who walks behind the rose like was came to be like, or maybe he was a human one point and see what happens, how he became what he was.
Yeah. I mean, I liked
You know,
Runaway. Runaway was my Bloodlines theory. Well, when I talked about they made a Bloodlines that it should be a woman coming back. That's
Oh, yeah,
Runaway was
you did say
basically
that,
that
yeah.
movie. I didn't realize it at the time, but her escaping the cult and coming back was kind of that whole thing. So I kind of liked that aspect of it. That was almost
That's why
like
you liked it so much. No,
because it was my idea. They
yeah, it was your
stole.
idea, and they
They
took it.
stole from 2018.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. It's a strange franchise and not one that I would definitely highly recommend by any means. But I would definitely recommend the first three
Yeah.
and
Even
possibly
I'd even say 4 just to kind of bookend your little Isaac
yeah, late
storyline.
six. Yes, well, six. You do one, two, three, and six, and then you should
Yes.
that's a good
But yeah, I
quadrilogy.
call it the 4th one. I
Yeah,
meant with like the 4 those 4 is what yeah.
those would be the core four. I think you could watch those and be that's all the corn you need for the rest of your life. So we're doing you a service. We're giving you
Yeah,
the essentials, the corn essentials.
basically we're giving you a kernel, or a niblet of the franchise that you can go with and,
Let me tell you about that. When you said niblets. So, uh, so I used to go out. This is completely random. It just makes me laugh. So when I was working, and when this was before the pandemic, we were all in the office, and we would go out to eat all the time with my coworkers, and it got so expensive because you go out to eat every single day. It gets crazy expensive, right?
God, yeah.
So we decided, okay, we're going to be good. We're going to start bringing our lunch every day. So I'm going to the store and I'm getting stuff for sandwiches and I'm getting this and that and these microwavable dinners. And so we were like, okay, this is the week we start. We're going to start bringing lunch to work. So Monday morning I come in, I got my little deli sandwich, I got a little bag of chips, I got a drink, and my buddy Mike comes in and he's got this little brown paper bag and he pulls out a single can of corn niblets. Like it's like a it's not even like a full can. It's like a little miniature
Hey, you get like a
like
preview of
pop.
corn to come? What is this? I don't know.
I was like, Mike, what is that? He's like, it's all I had at the
So
house.
but I mean, okay, fine. Then why didn't he just like on the way in stop or something then, or like I would never
I
yeah, I don't
felt
think I could
so
show up
bad.
with well there was a guy at my work did that too one time. He used to go and not like in some level like he would bring like, he'd bring some people just bring lunch in, like, I would always do that, but, I do it for more so, like, not just a money saving thing, but, because I like to have my
Yeah.
eat healthy. So, but, like, I remember this guy used to d like, it was an interesting way to do this. I mean, not that I'm knocking it 'cause it always look good. He'd make his sandwiches every day, and he'd always come with these nice big sandwiches. I'd be like, "Oh, yeah," I'm looking and thinking to myself, "Oh, he makes them at home." There's like he makes them there, and he brings, like, the deli meat, like, wrapped. Like, so he'd got, like, a pound of turkey and a pound of cheese, and his a loaf of bread, and he'd bring all that there and then make the sandwich at the office. I'm like, I am like, I'm thinking to myself, like, "That's kind of odd to bring the whole thing like that in there when you could just made it at home in, like, 5 seconds, bring that." But I
Yeah.
guess, I don't know, maybe he didn't, like I don't know, maybe he didn't have counter space at home, I don't know, and he needed it, like, here. I mean, but
I
it
don't
was
know.
kind of I always thought it was unique, and but he always had, like, the like, it looked good, like, he had, like, quality deli meat, like, it wasn't like the like, I remember when I
Well,
was
that's how
one
you have
point, I
to
was
do it.
yeah, I mean, but I remember one point I was like I would, like, trying to really, like, our my like, back when I was, like, not making as much money and I would but try to make sandwiches, I'd buy, like, that cheap deli meat that was, like, in a pack, and you'd basically make 1 sandwich per thing, but they'd fake you out 'cause, like, 99 cents, but I realized, if I just spent twice now, I'd still get, like, more sandwiches because it's like they fool you. It was like
Yeah,
those little
yeah.
but,
Oh,
yeah, so it's like but the
when
way to
I
go is, like, your way. You make it at home, make a nice sandwich, bring it in.
Well, you have to go like, if you're gonna make your sandwiches, like, you can't be cheating out on the bread. I mean, you
Yeah.
gotta get the good deli meat that they slice at the
Mm,
deli. You gotta get the good bread. You gotta come in with a quality sandwich if you're gonna eat at home, like eat at work or
yeah.
whatever. But, yeah, I can't hear the word niblets without thinking of that, and I still laugh
So
we still laugh
niblets.
about it to this day. Freaking corn nib don't
Isn't
bring
that what
corn
they
niblets.
right? And why do they call them niblets? They're not smaller than, I mean, yes, I guess they're smaller than the whole stalk of corn, but I feel like when you eat it off the cob, you call it more of a kernel, right? You say, "Oh, let me eat
Yeah,
all the kernels off." But
I
yet
don't
when
know.
it's in the thing, the giblets must be like a one of those like
brand name, like a green
brand
giant
name,
brand
like
name.
brand marketing names they
I
do,
didn't realize baby carrots were a whole scam. Like I thought they like grew when I was younger, obviously, but like I thought they grew baby carrots. Like, they don't. Like they take the deformed carrots that they can't sell because they're so ugly, and they just carve them into baby carrots. That's
That's why I
just so they
eat
can
them
sell.
because I feel bad. I feel like they've been
Yeah,
neglected and they didn't like Big Carrot wouldn't let them like
wouldn't let them live.
yeah, they wouldn't let
Big
them like
carrot.
thrive in the way they do. So you know what? I'm gonna support all the small baby carrots out there, and I'll even eat the ugly one that always appears in it. You know, there's the one that never passes. The
Yeah,
it like
like
it
that's the
because
most reject of the reject. If you have a baby
I
carrot that's
know
ugly, because he was already a reject and he got carved
that's
out of a reject.
yeah. Like I always feel bad because that's like the carrot that would get picked last in carrot gym, and I don't want I don't like to be that one that makes that decision. So it's like to me, I'm gonna like I'll like sometimes I'll even go dig in there and look for that one first and say. You are the winner. You don't anyone tell you you're short of inferior of other carrots, and I'm gonna eat you.
I
So
buy a
I
lot
actually
of
had
baby
carrots for
carrots.
lunch as a side, like a little side, and I think one of the ugly ones was in there. It was like bent a little bit, but I ate it. One time
Yeah,
I will say I did throw one out, but it was not my fault. It like literally had like it was like looked like it was like smushed. Like there would look like there was something really wrong with it. Like I would have gotten sick if I ate it. So
those
there
are the
was the
ones.
exception,
Yeah, we go through a
but
lot of baby carrots because my guinea pig loves carrots, so he gets a
they're
carrot every
good. At
morning.
Costco, you get the 2 bags for like $5, 2 huge packs of it of the baby
Yeah, they're
carrots. So
good. If you're going healthy, that's a good snack. Yeah, for sure.
man,
And
see,
I
look at
haven't
this.
gotten the carrots after
We're
corn.
really big on vegetables here. We go from
Yeah,
corn to carrots to next week we'll talk about when we I can't wait till we get into like the killer tomatoes. We'll go into that.
yeah. But you're making a new
Tomato
one of those. You saw
it's a
that?
fruit argument,
You saw they're making a new Attack of the Killer Tomatoes?
Really?
Yeah, they're making a
Oh,
new
no, I
movie. Yeah.
didn't. Oh,
So
that's a summer Slaycation, I guess. Because
yeah,
what? There's 2 already, right? And then
yeah,
this is a remake that makes 3. That's enough to do a Slaycation.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, guys, we'll see you back here next week. We're gonna have our embark on our next franchise, which is
I don't know which
Tremors.
yes. Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know, did we decide? But yes, we did. I
We
forgot.
didn't decide we're doing Tremors. I'm
Yes.
excited. I feel like we covered the original at one point in one of our
I don't
early
think we ever
episodes.
did. I think we were going to,
Or
and I
maybe we
don't
just
think
talked about it.
yeah, I think we talked about it, and then we realized, wait a minute, there's so many. Why don't we just do a Slaycation?
Yeah.
So
And I love the original. We went and saw it back when they put it back out at the theaters for the anniversary. I went and saw it. It's great. So I'm looking forward to the Tremors franchise. Not as big a franchise.
it's I think
Uh
7, right? There's 7
yeah, I
of
think
them.
there's like 7. So we'll see you back here for that. I've got to run because I'm going to go see Megan 2 tonight with
Yes.
the kiddos. And
Enjoy.
we will see y'all next week. Take care.
See y'all.